So in 1984, the great Michael Jordan was drafted to the Chicago Bulls. 1984. I actually was just born in 1984. And here's something fascinating. So Michael Jordan came in. He was a dynamic player. People had been looking at him for years. And I don't know if you ever saw the movie about his shoe deal, but he had an amazing shoe deal. I actually looked up these shoes, and these shoes went in an auction for $150,000, right? He had an amazing shoe deal, like a shoe deal nobody else had ever done at this particular time. Really, really broke. He was already the face of the NBA worldwide, and you'll see this in the movie if you saw the movie. However, one thing that he didn't have, he had the stardom, he had the shoe deal, had the income, the whole 9 yards, but he didn't have the thing that he wanted most. And what's the thing that he wanted most? He wanted one of these rings, or this trophy, but it came with a ring. But he didn't have it. Why though? Why didn't he have it? And here's the fascinating thing. This picture right here is actually right outside my office. And this picture represents, I like this picture so much. I love this picture so much because it actually is Michael Jordan getting his first championship. And it actually took him 7 years to get his first championship, right? 7 years. And then once he got this first championship, he went on and got another one. And then he got another one. And he went on to win 6 championships. 6. What changed? This is the question, and this is why I'm fascinated with that picture, because what changed? Some people will say I answer this question a lot, and a lot of times I'll get somebody to answer one of the things that changed. But it's quite a few things that changed, and I want to unpack it because Michael Jordan was able to use this, Kobe Bryant was able to use this, and all 7, 8-figure, 9-figure, even billion-dollar CEOs use the same exact thing, and I want to unpack it so you can apply it. So let's jump right back to my screen. One of the things that changed is the team, right? So not only the players on the team, but also the coach. And some people will say, well, just Phil Jackson, that's what changed it. Well, that was part of it. But in reality, Phil had a coaching team as well. Phil gets all the notoriety because he's out front, but a lot of his team doesn't get credit. Specifically, this gentleman right here, whose name is Tex Winter. A lot of times people say Phil Jackson brought the triangle offense, but in reality, Tex Winter is who brought the triangle offense. And Tex Winter didn't create the triangle offense. Tex Winter actually got it from a guy named Sam Barry, who he played for at, I think it was the University of Southern California or something like that, right? So first thing he had was the right team, had the right coaching team as well. Then of course he had the right system, right? Now, here's the beauty of this, because some people are like, well, yeah, Michael Jordan was this, Scottie Pippen was this, and so forth and so on, right? However, Phil actually took the same coaching team and the same system out to LA and did the same thing with the Lakers. And Phil Jackson ended up having 11 rings because he had the right coaching team. So he had the right team overall, players and coaching, and he had the right system. What was this system if you're not aware of it? I mentioned it earlier. It's called the triangle offense. What does it got to do with you as a business owner? Well, any 7, 8, 9-figure, even billion-dollar CEO, they have what I call the triangle offense. And I want to walk you through this step by step by step. Okay? So let's talk about it. So first and foremost, it's the systems. Right? What are the systems and structure that you must have in your business? So it's what I found. We call it the core 4. So the core 4 systems that you want to have is, number 1, you want to have client attraction. So let's actually walk through this. Let's do a graphic so we can walk through this together. So you want to have the core 4. So the core 4 is you want to have a system for client attraction. Some people call this lead generation, but we call it client attraction. Why? Because anytime somebody interacts with our brand, we don't see them as a lead. We don't see them as a follower or any of that type of thing. We see them as a client before they even give us money, and we treat them as such, right? So the first thing, you want to have a system for client attraction, first and foremost. Secondly, you want to have a system for client nurture. So once individuals are engaging with your brand, whether on your social media, whether they became on your email list, or whatever the case may be, how are you then nurturing them? How are you? What's the high touch feel that looks like? So people are blown away typically when they join our newsletter, or they download one of our playbooks or something, or they register for one of our events and it's free, and they have a personal concierge who reaches out to them and engage them. And they're like, what? They're blown away because and they realize it's a real person. A lot of times they thought it was AI. And it's like, no, it's not AI, it's a real person. Right? We're not against AI. It's the right way to use it, and I think it's the wrong way to use it. But we want to use it the effective way to treat humans as humans. So we want to have a system for client nurture. And then we want to have a system for client conversion. Now, when somebody's ready to buy, we want to have a systematic approach for them to pay you money. Right? And you want to have this systemized so it's working completely hands-free of you as the CEO. And then we want to have a system for flawless client delivery. How do you enroll clients at scale so they can pay you money, they can get onboarded, and they can get the outcomes that they paid you for? Many people, what I've seen over and over again, is people really focus in on here, sales or lead generation. They spend very little time on nurturing because they think people should come in and just buy. And I got a whole other video where I break down like mind sharing, how that whole process works, so I highly recommend you checking out. There's people spend a lot of time here, very little time here, and then very little time here. You want to have a systematic approach to tie all of this together. All right, so let's jump back to the triangle. And then you want to have a team. Once you have these systems and structure in place, you want to have the team to execute, right? So now you can focus in on your zone of genius, and these other players on the team can focus in on their zone of genius. You don't need a big team, just a lean team where everybody's focusing on their zone of genius. And then you want to have leadership. This is you or somebody on your team who's in leadership, and your focus is on vision and coaching. What if you could pull yourself out of the weeds of all the day-to-day stuff, and you can focus in on designing systems, architecting systems, right? So if you think about it, look at it this way. If you think about a building, who designs the building? An architect designs the building. And then you have construction workers come in to build the building. Who makes the most money typically? The architect, right? Makes more money than the builder. But a lot of times CEOs and founders don't spend enough time in the architect seat. They're pulled into the doing seat, right? And operating and doing all the things, but instead of pulling themselves out, and one of the reasons they do this is because they don't have this bottom one, the systems and the structure, and then the solid team so they can actually pull out and execute. And when you do this, you can have what Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson, Kobe Bryant had, this triangle offense to a scalable business. And it sets you up in a big way. Okay, so think about that. What are you missing when it comes to your triangle offense for your business? And I would recommend you focus in on that particular area over the next 30, 60, 90 days. And we'll have some resources, free resources, whatever for you in the description section of this video. Because I want you to analyze your business, take an audit of your business right now. Where is the biggest hole when it comes to your triangle offense? And once you plug this, you will begin to see the momentum in your business, see how it continue to grow predictably, consistently, and give you more freedom in your business. All right, go ahead and implement that right now. These videos are for implementation, not just education. So implement it, because when you implementation, and when you take implementation and you turn it into integration, where you're doing it consistent in your life, that's where the transformation happens. Go implement that right now, or get this video to somebody on your team so they can actually execute on it. And I'll talk to you soon.